All right, let's talk about a problem that drives even the most successful companies crazy. Why do great strategies just fail? It's something called the execution gap. That giant canyon between a brilliant plan and a super messy reality. Let's dig into why it happens.
Have you ever seen this happen? A company is on top of its game. It's growing, everything looks great on paper. But inside, things just start to feel heavier, slower. Getting anything done becomes a struggle. This isn't some big dramatic crisis. It's more like a silent slowdown, and it starts to creep in when companies least expect it.
So, yeah, let's start with this idea of the silent slowdown. You can really think of it as a hidden disease. It shows up right alongside success, and it quietly starts eating away at a company's ability to actually get stuff done. Now, this whole condition, it actually has a name: organizational execution decay. And it's this complete paradox, right? You add more people, you add more resources, more processes, all to get stronger. But instead, things just get worse. Your org chart might look perfect, but for the people on the ground, it feels like they're trying to run through quicksand. Does any of this sound painfully familiar? I mean, you see it all the time. You're in back-to-back alignment meetings, but nobody feels aligned. The company launches more and more initiatives, but there's less and less focus. You're drowning in emails and Slack messages, but there's absolutely no clarity. It's that classic hamster wheel. You're putting in so much more effort for way fewer results. And there is no better, more current example of this decay than what's happening with the AI activity trap. I mean, companies are throwing billions of dollars at artificial intelligence because, well, it's the future. But for so many of them, all that frantic activity isn't actually leading to any real tangible impact. And this is where we see that huge difference between just doing stuff, activity, and actually making a difference, impact. Kicking off a bunch of AI pilots, that's activity. But embedding AI into the core decisions that run the business, now that is impact. The problem isn't the technology, is that for a lot of companies, AI is just creating more projects and more noise without changing how work actually gets done. So it really all boils down to one simple, maybe brutally honest question. If you just switched off all of your AI projects today, what would actually break? Would the business even notice? Your answer tells you pretty quickly if you have a real strategy or just a very, very expensive hobby. And this whole activity trap idea, it isn't just about AI. That's just a symptom. The real disease here is complexity overload. It's this super ironic trap where a company's own success, its growth, starts to create the very friction that's going to slow it down. Just think about how it happens. As a company gets bigger, it adds a new management layer here, a new approval process there, another new software system over here. Each one of those little additions probably makes sense at the time, but over the years, they all weave together into this dense web of complexity that just grinds execution to a halt. And this brings us to a really, really important distinction. The company isn't broken. It's not failing. It's just overloaded. It's literally burdened by the weight of its own success. This is exactly why a simple task that used to take a single day now takes a week and 5 meetings. It's not that people are lazy, it's what the system itself is creating all the drag. So when things slow down and costs go up, what's the knee-jerk reaction? Layoffs. But almost every single time, this is a classic case of treating the symptom, not the actual cause of the disease. And here's the crazy paradox of it all. Sure, layoffs might make the company lighter on paper, but they also make it a whole lot more fragile. It's like pulling random bricks out of a Jenga tower. Yeah, you've removed some weight, but you've also destabilized the entire thing because you never bothered to fix the broken, complicated processes that were the real problem in the first place. I mean, just think about the domino effect. Critical knowledge just walks right out the door. The people who are left are totally stretched thin, which slows down decision-making even more. And at the end of the day, you're just left with fewer people trying to fight their way through the same tangled, broken system that was slowing you down to begin with. So all of this, the slowdown, the complexity, the bad fixes, it all points directly to the heart of the problem, the real execution gap. This is that critical breakdown between the amazing strategy dreamed up in the boardroom and the messy, complicated reality of trying to get work done on the front lines. And it pretty much always starts out great. Up at the top, at the leadership level, the strategy is crystal clear. Everyone's on the same page, they're excited, they know exactly what needs to happen. But then, that beautiful, clear strategy starts its long journey down through the organization. As it passes from one layer to the next, It gets translated and reprioritized and interpreted a little differently. That one single clear message starts to splinter into a bunch of inconsistent versions. And by the time that strategy finally reaches the teams who are supposed to be doing the work, well, it's not a coherent plan anymore. It's totally fragmented. It's just a collection of disconnected tasks and competing priorities. The original vision, it's completely lost. This is what we call the interpretation gap. See, people aren't trying to ignore the strategy. They are executing their interpretation of it. And when you have hundreds or thousands of people all acting on their own slightly different interpretations, what you get is this quiet, creeping misalignment that eventually just blows up your execution. So how in the world do you fix this? Well, it doesn't start with cutting costs. It starts with a real diagnosis of your company's operating model. You know, the actual system for how work gets done and how decisions get made. So here's a little diagnostic toolkit you can use. This gives us 3 really powerful litmus tests. First up, ask yourself, where does execution actually break down? Is it in the strategy itself? Is it in the decisions? Or is it in the follow-through? That'll tell you where your weakest link is. Second, the fragility test. If you had to cut, say, 20% of the company tomorrow, would performance actually improve or would the whole thing collapse? The answer shows you if your structure is helping you or holding you back. And finally, that AI question we talked about earlier. That shows you if your tech is a real tool or just more activity. And all of that leaves us with one final and really critical question to think about. When you're trying to improve your business, are you just focused on optimizing costs? Or are you doing the much harder but much more important work of fixing how your company actually runs? The answer to that question will decide whether you can close the execution gap for good.